We can always do I know before we get you again here. That's why I'm just throwing questions back and forth.
That's fine.
Because the next time maybe we can still, if you still have time, I can always call you for part 2.
Sure.
And we can always have that follow-up discussions. Because now I can write even more questions about. And to be honest, I haven't even touched half of the questions that I wrote down.
Finance is always emotive. There's so much to talk about.
So much to talk about.
Yeah.
So let's just touch on crypto because even just from that, the government just proposed recently. And I'm sure the proposal came because they noticed you know what? This is an industry that's growing, or we've noticed people are capitalizing on it.
Yeah.
And the government has proposed you know what? One of the priority list of people that we want to start taxing now, formally, it's for crypto, NFTs, content creators. There's a long list of things, but on their first on the list was cryptocurrency and NFTs. So what are your thoughts about just crypto and NFTs? Because crypto is one of those places, I think now for the newer generation, maybe, I'm not from Gen Z, but I can say I would rather take that high risk with crypto, with of course money that I know if I lose, it's all good. But what are your thoughts on just cryptocurrency as an industry currently and how it's growing? Because it's there. Let's just start with that. And for it to be there, we have to know it's I don't know whether I can say government approved, but it can't function if the government doesn't approve it.
Yes, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
But saying it can't function until the government approves it is some sort of a twist, a mind twist. You look at the initiators of crypto.
Mm-hmm.
The number one reason why they were going into crypto is so that they could avoid government regulation.
That's why I say it's decentralized, right? So
Yes,
we have
totally
centralized systems now. That's your banking institutions and everything. And decentralized means,
they wanted the freedom to transact without government or any regulators bearing down on them.
Yeah.
That's the concept of crypto, really. Okay? Now, which goes to the question, would you want to invest in something that is not regulated? Some people will say yes, others will say no.
Yeah.
Now, does regulation help in finance? Maybe that's a question that we should ask ourselves. It helps a lot.
It does, because now getting swindled and stuff, that kind of...
Yes, not only that, right? There's that swindling bit, but I think crypto have handled swindling so well. So I don't think there's anything around swindling. Yeah. But there's an element of, should an institution handling your money go down, what do you do? Okay, and that's why regulation comes in to help. Right now, if a bank holding your deposits goes down, there's a procedure how you can recover a certain amount. It might not be everything, but you might recover something. But for a network that is not regulated, right, it might not be necessarily the case. We see stories of some crypto exchanges.
The FTX saga, I think. That was a one-off thing. And you know why?
Yeah, it's one-off.
I still have to come in and just kind of protect the industry a bit. It's we'll go with your theory the same way you said. Let's not tie down cryptocurrency into one bad financial incident, because we still have...
make it representative of the industry.
Exactly.
And I totally agree. So I think the point I was trying to bring out there, had that been a regulated industry, those folks could have recovered some amounts, but they did it. So that's the disadvantage of going into something that is not regulated. Now, the push for crypto was so strong, still so strong, so the regulators decided we want to have a bit of it. Not only through taxation, like you've mentioned, but you'll notice that a lot of central banks now are doing their own digital currencies.
We call CBDCs.
Yes. Yeah. Digital currencies. I don't know why Kenya went lukewarm on it. They were really pushing.
I don't want to say why, because here's the thing. Let me just throw it out there. In Kenya, there are so many loopholes that if they are closed down, especially with money that now somebody can control digitally.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people will be in problems, businesses and all that. So I'm sure even people in those high positions know before we approve this, and this is not, it's not just a Kenyan thing. This is like a worldwide thing. You'll just see all these incidents always coming up. Before we approve this, we have to make sure it doesn't affect us personally, because they are like, some probably have the big institutions, they have the biggest shares in A, B, C, and D. Yeah. They hold a majority of the wealth as well. So
exactly,
before approving, they have to make sure it doesn't affect them.
Yeah. So they were really hot on it, but they went lukewarm. But I saw Nigeria launched theirs.
They've gone all out here.
Which is good. It's performing averagely, but it's okay. And I think why it's performing in Nigeria, because there are some issues with repatriating dollars outside of Nigeria.
True.
So this CBDC thing really helped them. I see a few countries. There's Salvador in South America.
That's what's the president? Najib Bukele.
Yes.
Yeah, the president has really pushed
pushed Bitcoin to be a major transactional entity there. And also Chad tried to do that. But if you look deeply into that, you'll notice that the push for that was not really belief in crypto, but it was more of, it was very political, because they were having problems with IMF and World Bank. And they
for El Salvador?
El Salvador and also Chad. They were having all these conditions being put on them around, with World Bank and IMF. And they thought, I don't need to be using your monies anymore. So I don't know, they were pushing more political, letting those institutions know that, hey, I could take this route. I don't need to listen to you. Okay? Yeah. So it was more political than the actual crypto. Now, have I invested in crypto? No. Why? Because one of the things I do when it comes to investments, I really need to understand it properly. Okay? And I will... One of the things that I look at crypto is that there's no underlying asset that supports it as an investment scheme. So it's very difficult to me to get into it. However, I've seen a lot of people, a lot of my friends are really into crypto and they love it. One of the people who believes in it, she's the CEO of a company known as Crypsense.
That's a Kenyan company?
That's a Kenyan company. I worked with her once.
I respect that.
At Safaricom. And she's running Crypsense, and she really believes in crypto, and she drives a lot of education around this crypto business, and she's all over Africa driving awareness and so on and so forth. I'm one of the people, one of our closest friends that has never really got into it, and it's interesting. I wouldn't say invest or don't invest, okay? I would just say do your research, and if it fits into what you really want to do, if you want to try it, to learn it, I tried. And I learned several things about it, okay? I made some money in it, but I just couldn't see the sustainability. Why? Because government institutions started getting into it. And once they start getting into it, they'll have like a stable coin around it. And right now, I felt people would migrate into the stable coins rather than the Bitcoins and so on and so forth. And that's why I thought I should out. But I see people very much having lots and lots of funds around crypto. And the day we'll have merchants, shops in Kenya accepting crypto as payments, that's the day I'll think, wow, this thing is really, really huge for us. If I can go to, let's say, a supermarket, one of the major supermarkets, and they tell me, yeah, we accept crypto, I'd be very, 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 excited. One thing about Africa that we don't seem to know is right now in Africa, and especially in East Africa, majority of these figures apply to East Africa. But generally in Africa, if you remove South Africa, okay, we have around 350 million individuals that are financially excluded. 350 million, okay? Now, if we continue at the pace we are going, right, by around 2050, we'll only have added 94 million to that, to the financially included, which means in 2050 we'll still have around 250 million financially excluded. Okay.
People, yeah.
Now, one of the reasons why this happens is because of infrastructure. The infrastructure in Africa is not so good. And that's why USSD as attachment is still very strong. Now, this has hampered really the growth of crypto. That's number one, because the infrastructure bit in Africa. Secondly, you look at countries where crypto is strong. Some of the countries, not all. One being Zimbabwe. Okay. Another one being...
they needed crypto.
Exactly. They needed crypto, right? So the push for crypto has been sort of negative, sort of some sort of a negative events happening because of the inflation. So everyone was protecting their monies through crypto. And that speaks a lot to people who might be considering crypto. It's only for people who do that ABCD. And then I've mentioned the lack of merchant interaction with crypto. So why would I want to be using crypto if I can't use it to buy something? I have to liquidate it first, cash out before I do that.
Actually, and even, sorry, just to cut you off, just to mention a few things. Actually, there's some places now, even in Kenya, you can just pay with crypto.
Yes.
Directly.
But the thing is, it's not known. Okay? It's not something that an average person would know. Okay, it's only maybe the people who are involved in it right now that know. It's like insider information. That's the problem. I've always tried to understand why. Why can't it just be general? Why can't my aunt in the village know that there's this thing known as crypto? I mean, you can get into the mechanics of it that I can use to buy milk somewhere. You know, why is that the thing?
But you have to give it time, right?
Exactly.
You have to give it time.
There's time. So I'm just trying to explain why I feel it's been like kind of depressed here, and some of the things that maybe whoever needs to consider to drive it. I personally believe in crypto, and the very
Would you
basic
invest in
concept.
Crypto?
I did once, but I outed, like I said, when the regulators started considering their own central bank digital currencies, because I thought they'll bring some stability and remove that up swings and down swings of crypto, the volatility of crypto. So and I thought maybe now it would be good to out and wait for the central bank digital currencies, right? So I did try. It was fun, and I totally enjoyed it. Okay, but I don't really believe in it. Maybe I'm old school.
Really?
I don't really believe in it.
Because it's still growing. And if you think about it, like if it wasn't a growing industry, it would have been stopped by now. But you see, like there, especially like in Europe, you see like even Bitcoin ATMs. When you talk about crypto in general, it's not just about payment systems. And, you're coming from a payment system background as well. We have things like smart contracts. So that people like musicians, actors, anybody who's getting tied into like, and even just how smart contracts work with crypto is incredible.
Yes, but you see, smart contracts can work also with fiat currency. Now that's the problem. Okay, you see the technology. The technology that gives crypto and smart contracts, that blockchain thing. I think it's really been demonized because of Bitcoin. Okay, because the major application of blockchain was crypto. So if you present blockchain as a technology to anyone, they look at it as a very bad technology because of Bitcoin. But it's really fantastic. All these things you're talking about, smart contracts. I'm currently trying to build a product that enables people to borrow against their NFTs. And one of the immediate NFTs I'm looking at is their data on the internet. You know, we are all being told that data is the next whatever. And if data really is earning people money, why ain't I earning from my data? So we are looking at how you can now transform your data into an NFT, sort of. Attach value to it, and then now borrow a loan against it. Okay, something like that. But it's amazing how when you explain that technology itself, people always sort of default to crypto, they start demonizing whatever good things you're trying to do.
There's so much more that goes to the industry.
I'm a firm believer on those smart contracts things, NFT, if you want to put a value to it and so on and so forth, right? But I think we just need to be at a point where we we understand the whole concept of crypto. There was a time I was asking myself, this lack of knowledge, and it's lack in quotes, is it deliberate? Okay, do we want to put it among a few individuals, or is crypto just so difficult to understand? For those who haven't understood it yet, okay, those are the two elements to it. However, if you read about it, you understand it, and it's something that you feel strongly about, then by all means, get into it, okay, and have fun getting into it. Do I see it taking over?
I don't want to say traditional, finance? Like let's say the current financial institutions and systems. Do you think it's going to take over it after a while? Really?
I don't think it's going to take over, but that's just my opinion. The reason why, and I did mention this earlier, is the financial industry is very conservative. Okay. Very conservative.
And I think that's where the problem is now. Are we adjusting to this now? No, we need to change our systems, train people, and make sure we are not getting into something that's not sustainable in a couple of years in future.
It's very conservative. It's one of the biggest industries that I believe would be so difficult to really totally disrupt. We see a bit of disruptions, which is okay. Okay. But like totally disrupting it, like Amazon disrupted supermarkets, I don't see that happening. Why? Because one of the industries that's going to be disrupted last is the finance. So they've seen what has happened in other industries. I don't think they're going to allow that to happen here. Then secondly, you see, like I said, regulators are also getting into this crypto thing, right? And once they get into it, they have a slice on it, they stabilize how it's moving, then suddenly we'll see, very little activity going on around the crypto space. Okay. Then thirdly, for me, and finally, is who is crypto built for? I think that's very, very, very important. And at what point would we say the industry has grown? When who takes over? Okay. The Bitcoins have never really described who they've built this for. Okay. And they've never really gone out aggressively to capture the market, so to speak. We do not know who. We don't even know who started Bitcoin. I think, or maybe we know, but we don't want to share.
There's a mystery there to it.
So there's.
Just finish one before I go with.
There isn't a single entity that is, going out to such, capture the market. Okay, and that might be a downfall for them, because right now crypto is all about word of mouth, which is important. I mean, word of mouth is how most things happen anyway. But I believe normally there should be an entity like totally trying to drive that. We see startups trying to push that.
We've just recently seen
communities.
BlackRock trying to create like an ETF or something to Bitcoin.
Yes.
So
but what's important?
But BlackRock is one of the biggest financial institutions.
But ask yourself why they're getting into it. Sometimes they get into something to regulate it. Okay. Not really to advance it. I'm not saying BlackRock is doing that. There are some of the people I use to get some shares in the US. I'm not saying that's what they're getting into, but how I know financial institutions work, when they see something that is really, really gaining traction.
That's a threat to them.
That is a threat to them, or that could be a threat to them. They also get into it just to control how it moves.
Okay. True.
So ask yourself why they're getting into. They might be getting into it because they really feel they're going to benefit from it growing. But they'll also be getting into it because they feel they benefit from it not growing.
That's true.
Yes. That's what you need to discern and see what works for you. Look, these companies, the BlackRocks, the
JP Morgan,
these are huge companies. Huge. I usually call them TFW. Too big to fuck with.
Okay. Yes.
As if they really want to build something, if they really want something to grow, it will grow.
That's true.
Okay. So if somebody has been in it for a year and it still hasn't really grown, what then are their real intentions?
Because even now that you mentioned it, even JP Morgan has been doing something to do with crypto, either in terms of helping like some of their investors to buy and sell. They're kind of doing something. And every time when they mention, even a tweet goes out, JP Morgan has done this and this, or BlackRock, anything to do with crypto. There's a huge pump in the crypto community because they're like, okay, if these guys come in, it means they'll be buying like a bigger chunk of the cryptos and stuff. And also we have to keep in mind, crypto has a limited supply. As compared to fiat, you think about people are just, I don't know, I don't want to say people, but I think people are just printing money at some point to for the sake of it. So crypto, at least it's limited in supply. And even just with countries, we've talked about countries like Zimbabwe, see how they get into those situations.
Right now, one of the biggest users of crypto, you'll never imagine, money transfer organizations. Okay, the companies that handle remittances. So they'll collect your money from wherever. I saw now there's been an increase in remittance to Kenya. So maybe from the UK they'll collect your money. Then they'll purchase crypto off that money. Okay. Then they'll come and cash out that money in Kenya and give it to whoever. Why are they doing this? Because it literally costs them nothing. To transfer that money from the UK to Kenya.
The fees are so minimal. And even apart from just that, sending like standard, I think in most banks, sending more than $10,000, it's already like an issue. And if you think about like so many modern businesses right now, people are doing like way bigger numbers.
Exactly.
And I want to be able to wake up in the middle of the night, something has come up, because even after pandemic, there are so many things that we can do online, and even just with organizations that are outside the country. Like, you can't tell me that I have to wait for 24 hours for the bank to open, and maybe also like after more than the 10,000 USD amount to be transferred, a proper explanation, like a composition maybe, or like, okay, why this amount? I think those are some of the things that in the crypto community and even such an organization would get into, because it's way much more easier. The fees are less.
Much cheaper. They're probably doing 0.1 to the dollar.
Super minimal.
And I was so surprised because I work with them to build some of the products I'm building. 2 years back, they approached me and say, right now I want to charge you to terminate. I'll actually be paying you to terminate. And I started wondering what changed all of a sudden. Like what changed? Then I realized that's exactly, it's so cheap for them to do that right now. And they're making a killing from it. And that's one of the reasons why I got out of that, because I thought if the central banks start running their own digital, these major users are going to shift to that. Because the central banks are okay with this. So they're going to, these are some of the heavy users, they're going to shift to that. And there might be an issue on these Bitcoins and Ethereum kind of currencies. So that's why I came out waiting for the Kenya one and the Nigerian one. And that's why I'm a bit sad the Kenyan one went a bit lukewarm.
But it's still a growing industry, and
it is.
And there's so much to it. Honestly speaking, if somebody like was even in a movie like probably 10 years ago and it's tied to a smart contract, you still get like those checks. Especially like, even in like, let's say even in our country, you'd see artists complaining all the time, like, MCSK collects cash and stuff. But, at the end of the year, we've gotten like, 3,000 and it's a whole band. But all these things, if they're tied into smart contracts and, automatically at the end of the year or a certain date, it just clocks in like this. It's midnight. That's what the contract said. Everybody gets their cut. Express. Just how it works, just incredible payment systems.
So my advice on crypto, just understand it.
Just learn more about
there are two ways. There's the long and painful way, whereby you sit down and read about it. Okay. The best route for me is, pay school fees to it. What that means is get some money you can afford to lose, get into it, understand how the dealings and everything. You learn much more on that.
Yeah.
And if it's money you lose that, then that's fine. You've learned.
Yeah.
And you might gain.
Yeah.
Okay. And then once you learn, you give it a year. Once you learn, you can make an extra decision whether you want to go in more or you want to come out.
True.
And we see where this crypto goes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So once, like the way you said, once we start talking about money and financial institutions, it can be like a never-ending journey of conversation.
Yeah.
So I would rather we save anything else for part 2, because you see we haven't even gotten halfway with my questions, and we've already clocked. We are close to 2 hours.
Exactly.
So I really appreciate you coming to the platform, and I hope there is a way we can get you back for part 2. I don't know when it's going to happen, but I'm really hoping that we can get you back for part 2 before maybe the end of the year.
Sure. No
That's
problem.
possible?
Yeah, that's possible.
So what would be like your just parting shot for like my viewers and listeners in regards to like just, financial